Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night unto you. It's been a while, but we are thankfully back to our weekly nugget. Our nugget comes from Psalms, the 91st chapter and verse 5. The Bible simply says something that is beyond our belief. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day. You shall not be afraid. I remember when I was a kid, my brother decided he was going to teach me how to catch. It's not that I didn't have the mechanisms for it. I was afraid of the ball. I was little and he had taught me the mechanisms, and I understood the mechanisms. And if it was a Nerf ball, I was all about that life. Kickball, Nerf ball, I could do it. But if it was a real ball, a leather ball, be it basketball, football, or softball, softballs. Big grapefruits coming at your face. I was not ready for that. So this is what my brother did. I still remember. On the side of our house, there was a fence at the back. We had a long, wide side yard, and he took me out to the chainmail fence, and he stood and he walked back a few feet, and he said, I'm going to keep throwing this ball at you until you are no longer afraid of it hitting you. Basically, he was going to hit me until I stopped being afraid of being hit by the ball. Thou shalt not be afraid of the terror by night. Is that what God is saying? I'm going to hit you with terror until you stop being afraid. At night, it will be the terror. And in the daytime, you'll be able to see it because it's an arrow. I am commanding you. Needless to say, I'm 50 years old and I still remember that chain link fence. And I still remember the balls coming at me. Oh, eventually I learned how to catch okay. But that's not how I lost my fear. And with God, who's going to withstand the fear that God throws? I want you to understand that when God gives a command, thou shalt not be afraid. He's not telling you, man up, woman up, just deal with it. God is simply telling you, thou shalt not is an unleashing. It is more than a command. It is an unleashing of God's power to do in you and for you what it is you cannot do by yourself. God commands, you will not be afraid. Not because you're afraid of what God will do to you if you don't stop being afraid. You will not be afraid. Why? Because there's power when I command it to put in you courage that wasn't there before. I don't know about you, God, but I still feel anxiety if I step off the curve and not the arrow, just the bus that comes by. See, now, that's a fear that's healthy. When Jesus says, don't be afraid of the arrow, he's not saying that the arrow coming at you should not bring up anxiety in your heart as you begin to fly to get away. That's not what it is he's saying. He's talking about the fear of dwelling. And that is a fear that his command gives us power to overcome. See, he's not saying don't be afraid of catching COVID. He's saying when I dwell on that fear and it causes me to do less than what is within my power to do by God's grace, that's a fear he commands not to be there. I'm Pastor Keith Gray, and I want to challenge you to take God up on his offer. If God says you don't have to be afraid, then you better believe any fear after that is simply a matter of choice. And if God's got the power to command it, he's got the power to reverse the curse of anxiety in your heart and mind. This week, you've been given the command. The power of God's grace is there. Thou shalt not be afraid. I'm Pastor Keith Gray, and this week, chew on this. God bless till next time.